Welcome back to part two. Richard Caborn, former sports minister, one of Sheffield's finest, is still with us. Another adopted Sheffielder. I don't think he minds that, Kevin Gage. You don't mind being called that, do you, Kev?
No, it's on my Twitter bio.
Oh, right. Sorry, I should have read that. I should pay more attention to your Twitter. Some of it I find very interesting, by the way, but we won't go into the most interesting aspects of your Twitter. You're happy for me not to go there, I'm sure. All right. We're going to talk about football reform. It's badly needed. Richard Caborn and I have been involved in something there. Just before we do, the Euros, I mean, I referred to Kevin's appropriately patriotic shirt there. England at the Euros. Bring you in, Richard, first of all. What have you made of it so far? We're doing great in terms of results. We've got a big game coming up. Where are you on the debate about, I mean, every time I look at social media, I've got a lot of people moaning. And here we are, topping the group. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I think obviously you can level some criticism against the England side, particularly against Scotland. I mean, it was disappointing, but they've delivered. They're at top of the league. I think the big test now is, can they lift the game? Whoever they get now in the next in the knockouts, there's no safety net anymore. It's do or die. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And unfortunately, they've got one of the worst draws in that sense. It's Portugal, France, or Germany. Take your pick. Whichever one it is, it's going to be a tough game. But can they race again? The answer to that is yeah. And I think the first 20 minutes, against Czechoslovakia should. And I said this, okay, I wouldn't I? But Harry Maguire coming back in, I honestly believe strengthened defence, but more importantly, showed a bit of leadership. He went in and he attacked. So I think the first half was good. It showed the talent they got, and I think that if they lift the game, well, whoever it is of them three, but it's going to be great. It's going to be a great game. But it's do or die. Yeah. It's FA Cup stuff now, isn't it? Knockout stages.
Certainly is. Harry Maguire adding a dimension to us going forward as well. Richard posing the question, Kevin, can we just lift our game? Have we got extra gears to go through? Have we, do you think?
Yeah, we have. Whether we are good enough to beat the very, very best of Europe in a Germany side that, full function and efficiency, and a French side with all the flair and talent they have, is another matter. So it will be no shame if we do lose to one of them. But it's a game of football. Anything can happen. As has been said before many, many times. We've certainly got some quality in the team now. And it only takes one or two players to do something extraordinarily good and show that bit of individual talent to get us a goal from somewhere, and we'll win the game. So we're perfectly capable, and we're right up there with some of the best of the European teams. No reason why we can't, if we can get past one of those three big hitters, no reason why we can't go all the way.
Yeah. Where do you stand on the tactical debate and the formation, Kevin? Because we're blessed with some wonderful attacking players. We can't get them all in the team. Are we being a little bit conservative in the way that we play, or is Gareth Southgate entirely justified? We haven't conceded a goal yet. We've topped the group. How do you see that balance?
I don't think we've been conservative. No, I think we've played the attacking players. We've gone at teams. You have to remember that. Let's leave the Scotland game one side of that. I think that wasn't a kind of proper international game. But you have to remember there are no real minnows in the Euros anymore. You're not going to go out and beat sides 5, 6, 7-0 like sometimes you get in the World Cup. They're all decent teams, and they've all got decent world-class players. So they're going to get some possession. They're going to have the ball occasionally, and they're going to attack us and get shots on our goal. And so we've more than held our own. We always grow into tournaments as well, so the team will get better as it gels a bit more and people understand their roles. And it's always difficult to throw international players in, isn't it? And expect them all to play as they do for their clubs, because that takes time to gel. So the more they train together, the more they get into the tournament, the more they gel as a team. We can only get better, I think. It's slightly unfortunate that we have got one of the big hitters, in the next round. It won't give us that extra game to get even better and even more cohesive as a team. But, it is what it is. And to win the tournament, we're going to have to beat some of the best sides in Europe anyway. So we might as well start in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Well, when you get a Euros or a World Cup, Richard, the entire public watches it, not just the football going ones. So therefore, I think you get a distorted view of a game like Scotland, where people who don't regularly watch football will look at that and think, how can England only draw 0-0 with Scotland? Whereas, Kevin and I were talking before the show, it's tantamount to a local derby, isn't it?
It is.
That dynamic changes games.
Yeah. I think what Kevin's saying is absolutely right. But I think the one good thing, we haven't conceded a goal. And the one thing, you're going into knockouts now. And if we can hold a good defence together, and you can then get that bit of extra flair from one of those in the attacking, and they're all capable of that. We saw that last night, that they're capable of just turning that on. And as long as you've got that solid defence, which I think we have, then I think that, you're always in with a good chance, particularly when you get to knockout stages. That's it. It's decided on the night. So I think that, I think Southgate has actually, got the side into a position where, even though we are not the favourites, we're going to be difficult to beat. And as long as we keep that 0 on the score sheet, then you're in with a chance.
Yeah, balance between the two of you, between realism and optimism, I think. Obviously, we've got to get through this highly difficult next one. There won't be a more difficult game in the rest of the tournament if we can. So where do you pitch it, Kevin, for giving a tick beside the manager on this one? Quarterfinals, semi-finals, and what's realistic, do you think?
Well, it's a bit difficult because we have got, let's just say we play Germany. Germany on paper would probably fancy their chances against us, and most people say Germany will probably beat us. So you could look at it and say, well, we've gone out again too early for a nation, and how much money we've got in the Premier League. So perhaps it would be a bit of a disappointment. But we're not, we're not world beaters anymore, are we? We haven't got a divine right to go out there and beat all these sides. So I'm not going to start saying, well, we've definitely got to do this, and it'll be terrible for the nation if we lose to Germany, France, or Portugal. It's one of those things. It's just the way the luck of the draw has happened. I'm not tearing my hair out. I'm not Gareth Southgate's biggest fan, to be honest. But I think with the talent at his disposal, he's doing an okay job. And to be honest, we would all pick our different, maybe one or two changes in an England team if we had a choice. But we've got the best players there in the country. I don't think anybody's been left out. And I think the formation and the team he's playing is basically what just about everybody would actually pick. So I don't think he's making any massive errors. He puts the team out there, and it's up to the players to step up to the mark, step up to the plate, and put on the performances. People like Grealish, and doing a little bit of magic somewhere, creating something out of nothing, and Kane getting on the end of it. And as Richard rightly says, we're never going to be hammered and let too many goals in. So as long as we can keep a relatively solid defence, we've always got the attacking flair going forward.
Well, I wish myself, as you two do, Gareth Southgate, all the very best. I think he's a highly decent guy. He's making a really good fist of the job. Although there's a little bit of a bandwagon, rolling on Twitter for the former manager of Sheffield United. Should England make a change at some time? People saying Jim Phipps is kind of banging that particular drum, and he's getting quite a bit of support for it. Do you think that our friend Chris Wilder would be and can be an effective and good international manager, Kevin?
I said this about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, in a column I wrote for the Star. I put forward the possibility. that in maybe 5 years' time, maybe 10 years' time, he would be a fantastic England manager with a bit more experience. I mean, you couldn't wish for a better manager or a better personality for the England public to get behind. I mean, most people would just like him as a person. He's a very likable. He comes over very well, doesn't he? And the typical English football fan would definitely relate to a character like Chris Wilder. You can imagine him on the touchline in his England badge. I mean, he thumps the Sheffield United badge, but imagine him doing the same with an England badge. Not so sure he'd be sliding down the touchline when we score, but but yeah, I think if we could leave last season aside, if we took that off his CV, and if he has another good spell at a top either Premiership club or maybe Championship club or something like that, I think he's got a hell of a good chance of being the England manager, maybe in a few years' time, maybe 5 years' time.
Absolutely, totally agree. I think that's the ideal, isn't it? Towards the end of a successful club career, rather than earlier than that. I saw lots of nods from you, Richard, on that one.
No, I think Kevin sums it up very well there. I think he would, and he's a man manager, isn't he? I think that and in that sense, it is different. I mean, Kevin knows far better than that than I do, but in these situations, but I would think being an England manager, because I've got the squad all the time, you've got to have a skill set, and I think the skill set is about managing people, and there's no doubt that Southgate's been good at, and I think that's the skill set that Wilder's got, so he could bring that together and be a bloody good England manager. But I don't think he'll be looking for that at the moment. I think he'll be somewhere down the road, as Kevin was saying. Let's have another. You want another job, as it were, in a big club, and then the last few years he does that and delivers a World Cup. Like 66 all over again.
Fantastic thought. I remember 66. You remember 66?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember 66. Yeah.
And I remember that in the group.
I don't.
Kevin, it's the year I was married, Kevin. 66.
Oh, right.
Oh, there you are.
It was a long time before I was married, but it was around the time when I started to get seriously interested in football. And I do remember that in the group games, and most of our games, they were deadly dull, honestly. Yeah. They were no better than the group games than the ones we've just seen. And we went on and won it. So maybe there's an omen there. Let's finish off with football reform and former Sports Minister Richard Caborn, leading a Sheffield delegation of 10 of us. I mean, they were Keith Hackett. Most of them don't need an introduction, do they? Keith Hackett, Brian Dean, Chris Turner, Clive Betts, your fellow politician, Rob Wilson of Sheffield Hallam University, acknowledged football finance expert, Kevin Shaw as well on a similar basis, and Sue Bealey and Ian Rands, somebody I know, a very good football blogger and a Blades fan. Tell us what was in your head when you got all these people together. Oh, and me, by the way.
Yeah. Don't forget yourself, Alan. Yeah. No, it's been a great group. It's been a great group together. And if you look across that, Alan, there's some knowledge about football, right across from grassroots. And we are talking about, 150,000 amateur clubs in the country, 2 million players we've got. That's right up the pyramid. That's the base of that pyramid that many of us go and watch the kids playing in the parks, right up to that, to the 14 million that watch Premier League football every Saturday as well. And it's that pyramid that we were saying had been threatened, and we said, how do we actually address that? And I think that there are three main elements. One is we believe that the FA has got to be reformed and has got to become the proper governance structure of the game. And I think we put some very solid proposals down from that. I think the fans, which did a fantastic job in rejecting the European Super League, they have got to be brought in a much more structured way, a bit like the Germans. What we've said is that now there ought to be a supporters trust in every professional club, and that they, like they do in Germany, they pay to come into that. It's a proper organised, and they, in doing that, are big influences on the other element, a licensing system, but also have directors on the board of the clubs. They're not there, they're not going to change the day-to-day operations. We're not asked for that. But what they will have is, big decisions like, are you going to sell the ground? Are you going to change the competition? Things like that. So we've looked at structural reforms that really brings the fans in, that does actually, as it were, revamp the whole of the FA and is much, much more representative of the wider football family, not just the professional clubs and the amateur clubs, but things like the officials and fans and so on. And then I think that licensing system, and we're saying, again, a bit like they've done in Europe over the recent past, is to bring a licensing system, which we are saying to the government, look, this is what we need. So you've got up there good governance, you've got a structure which brings the fans in and can have a major say in that. They don't run football, but they have a major say and influence it. And you have a system, a licensing system that we believe could be used very effective, like they've done that in Europe with UEFA through their licensing, financial fair play. You bring that in. So that's the big piece of architecture, Alan, that we're recommending the government ought to seriously consider. And we believe if that did happen, then football would be fairer. We think it would be much more sustainable. And we also believe that it would not allow what happened this year, half a dozen people coming along and trying to hijack it and take away our heritage of football. We believe that can be stopped forever.
There's a big element of self-policing in what you and the rest of the group are proposing. And I admit that before talking to you, my attitude was pretty much football is incapable now of governing itself. It needs an outside regulator. How close are we to that if meaningful changes aren't made now? Because surely this can't just be a talking shop, Richard, now, can it? There's got to be action.
There's got to be action. And I think if you look at the structure of football at the moment, you've got within the governance of it, you've got the amateur game and the professional game, which is locked into in my view, a position where nothing moves really on that. And then you've got a Premier League that is controlling, the 20 clubs are controlling through a monopoly, through a cartel, the selling of television rights to 20 clubs with no regulation at all. And that is where the real power of the Premier League is. It's where they do the negotiations. I know because I was involved in this when I was a minister, and the European Union tried to come in and break that up. They didn't, but it's still there. And therefore, there is no other business in the UK that runs a cartel, a monopoly, without some regulation. And I'm saying that the regulator of that has got to be the FA. If not, what you're saying, I think, Alan, is that the government could, and there's no doubt it's on the agenda this time, is that they could bring in a statutory regulator that would be a bit like Ofcom, Oftel, some of those. I think that would be wrong. I think football has got to run itself, it's got to regulate itself, and it's got to make sure that it's competent to do that and fit for purpose. I think what we've showed in that report that we presented to the fans-led review, it can be done. And it can avoid any interference from government in terms of running the game of football, which I think is the right way to go.
Let's hope so, Richard. More power to that. We'll keep you informed. Watch this space, and let's hope that football does take the initiative and agree to reform itself. It's been fascinating talking to both of you guys. We've covered a broad range of subjects. Sheffield United in depth, the Euros will all be glued to TVs. But as I said at the start of the show, this Thursday night, as this goes out on Sheffield Live TV, there ain't no football from the Euros. You have a break from that, so maybe watch this. And if you missed the live transmission here, it's on my YouTube channel. Meantime, I recommend that if you're in the Dronfield area, you pop into the Manor House Hotel. You'll enjoy good company and a fine pint or two or three with Mr. Gage there in his very, very patriotic shirt there. Cheers, Kevin. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers
again. Good to see you. And Richard, great company as ever. More power to your elbow as well. And to you, thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with another show. Not quite sure when. It might just be back in the studio after July. Was it July the 19th? We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.